The hospital floor is locked down before you even take your first breath. Corridors cleared. Phones confiscated. Men in tailored shirts stand where nurses should be. When you finally cry, it's not applause that follows, it's relief. Somewhere nearby, champagne corks hit the ceiling. You're not famous yet, but your name already is. Before you're a week old, local radio stations are playing a song that mentions you like a promise. You won't remember this moment, but it defines everything that comes after. Your childhood doesn't happen in a house. It happens on land. So much land it has its own rules. A chapel older than the country. Stables filled with imported horses. Security posts disguised as gardens. Armed men who pretend they're invisible, but never are. You grow up surrounded by abundance, yet completely isolated. No neighborhood kids. No school bus. No scraped knees racing bicycles down the street. Teachers come to you instead. Highly paid. Carefully selected. They teach algebra, economics, languages, but never ask questions. The other children you meet belong to the men who protect your father. They treat you politely, carefully, like you're made of glass and explosives at the same time. The guards are your first constant memory. They're everywhere. At doors. At hallways. At the edge of every room. Men who speak into their wrists and never fully relax. Men who stand straighter the moment your father appears. Men who call you sir, before you've learned long division. Your father is kind, but distant. When he's with you, he's present. Generous. Focused. But there's always a part of him that feels unreachable, like he's standing behind a locked door even when he's right in front of you. And you notice the way others look at him. Not just with respect, but with something heavier. Fear that's been trained to behave. At 9 years old, curiosity wins. What does my dad actually do? Your mother answers smoothly. She always does. She says he's involved in international trade, agricultural goods, imports, exports. Her tone suggests this is the end of the conversation. You nod, but you already know something doesn't add up. You've seen suitcases carried into private rooms and leave empty. You've heard coded conversations stop when you enter. You've learned without being told that some things are never repeated. Your education splits into two paths. On one side, elite academics, languages, history, business theory. Your father insists you must be sharper than he ever was. I learned by surviving, he tells you. You'll learn by understanding. On the other side, lessons no classroom offers. Trust is expensive. Power isn't requested, it's taken. Loyalty is bought. Betrayal is punished. At 13, the illusion of childhood ends. You're flown to a remote property by helicopter. When you land, dozens of men are already waiting. They stand in unison. No applause. No smiles. Your father places a hand on your shoulder. This is my son, he says. One day he replaces me. No speech. No ceremony. Just silence and nods. You feel it immediately, the weight. Not pride. Gravity. Soon after, you meet the man your father values differently from all the others. Not a soldier. Not a commander. An accountant. Thin. Nervous. Always tired. Always brilliant. Your father treats him with something close to reverence. Men with guns are replaceable, your father explains. Men who understand money aren't. The accountant simplifies his job for you using metaphors. Legal ones. Clean ones. He never explains methods, only concepts. Enough for you to understand the danger without learning the mechanics. What we move isn't the hard part, he says. Making it disappear into legitimacy, that's the real art. You begin living between two worlds. In the US, you pass as a rich kid. Malls, games, parties. No one knows your last name means anything more than money. For brief moments, you taste something close to normal. Then you go home, and remember normal was never an option. At 16, you receive 2 birthday gifts. A luxury vehicle, and a firearm. One is for comfort, the other for survival. Training follows. You're good, too good, but you never forget what the weapon truly represents. By the time you're an adult, nothing is hidden anymore. You learn how power is structured. Territories, chains of command, systems designed not to collapse if one piece fails. You learn that the real backbone isn't muscle, it's logistics. And finance. The accountant now runs an entire team. On paper, they're consultants, analysts, office workers. In reality, they are the difference between useless cash and absolute power. You're sent to university with an official story and an unofficial reality. Armored vehicles disguised as normal ones. Security at a distance. Constant movement. No routines. You're surrounded by people, but never truly close to anyone. As the years pass, the numbers grow obscene. The scale becomes impossible to emotionally process. You realize the paradox. Generating money is easy. Making it usable is the problem. You watch your father age faster than time should allow. Stress carves lines into his face. Power keeps him alive, but only barely. Late at night, alone in apartments overlooking cities you don't feel connected to, the question arrives uninvited. Who would you have been if you were born into a different name? The answer is immediate and devastating. You were never given that choice. Even the accountant admits it one night, voice heavy with regret. He knows he could have been something else. Someone else. But knowledge, once acquired, becomes your responsibilities grow, so does the silence around you. People stop speaking freely in your presence. Every sentence becomes calculated. Every smile feels rehearsed. You begin to realize something disturbing. Nobody around you is honest with you anymore. Not because they want to lie, but because telling the truth in your world can be fatal. You attend meetings where maps are spread across tables. Borders are discussed like suggestions, not laws. Entire regions are reduced to numbers and arrows. You notice how casually human lives enter conversations. Not with cruelty, not with emotion, just logistics. If a route fails, it's replaced. If a person fails, they're replaced. Efficiency is the only moral system that survives here. That realization stays with you long after the meetings end. Power isolates faster than poverty ever could. You can't complain. You can't confide. You can't break down. Because the moment you show weakness, someone somewhere starts calculating how to use it. Romantic relationships don't survive long. Even when they start genuine, they end the same way. Questions, suspicions, fear. You're never loved for who you are, only for who people believe you might be. Eventually, you stop trying. Loneliness becomes routine. Your father no longer sleeps properly. You notice it in the way his hands shake slightly when he drinks coffee, in the way he sits facing doors, in the way he memorizes exits instinctively. Power hasn't made him fearless. It has made him permanently alertlet. You understand then that survival isn't victory. It's just delay. He doesn't talk about the future. Not anymore. He talks about preparation. That's when it hits you. This life doesn't end. It only gets transferred. You consider leaving. Not realistically, but emotionally. You imagine disappearing, changing names, living small. But the fantasy collapses quickly. You know too much. You are too visible. Your absence would create chaos. And chaos always gets resolved violently. You realize something horrifying. Even if you walked away, the world would pull you back. Not because it needs you, but because it refuses to let go of what it has claimed. You were born into privilege. But privilege without choice is just another form of captivity. You inherited wealth, but lost anonymity. You inherited authority, but lost peace. You inherited a name that opens every door, except the one leading out. This is not a success story. This is a warning. Because some empires don't pass down opportunity. They pass down sentences only for who people believe you might be. Eventually, you stop trying. Loneliness becomes routine. Your father no longer sleeps properly. You notice it in the way his hands shake slightly when he drinks coffee, in the way he sits facing doors, in the way he memorizes exits instinctively. Power hasn't made him fearless. It has made him permanently alertlet. You understand then that survival isn't victory. It's just delay. He doesn't talk about the future. Not anymore. He talks about preparation. That's when it hits you. This life doesn't end. It only gets transferred. You consider leaving. Not realistically, but emotionally. You imagine disappearing, changing names, living small. But the fantasy collapses quickly. You know too much. You are too visible. Your absence would create chaos. And chaos always gets resolved violently. You realize something horrifying. Even if you walked away, the world would pull you back. Not because it needs you, but because it refuses to let go of what it has claimed. You were born into privilege. But privilege without choice is just another form of captivity. You inherited wealth, but lost anonymity. You inherited authority, but lost peace. You inherited a name that opens every door, except the one leading out. This is not a success story. This is a warning. Because some empires